Football's back on Rocky Top as the Tennessee Volunteers kick off their 2024 season against the Chattanooga Mocs. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips. He's Dave Shumate. We are here previewing, predicting, breaking down this Week 1 matchup at Neyland Stadium. Guys, again, appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. We're brought to you by our friends over at MyBookie. Go to mybookie.ag, use promo code SECU at sign up to receive a special welcome offer on your first deposit. Again, guys, it's mybookie.ag, promo code SECU to get your special welcome offer today. Like I mentioned, guys, we are previewing, predicting, breaking down all things Tennessee and Chattanooga. And helping me do so, my good friend, Dave Shumate. He joins me once again. Dave, what's going on, my man? I appreciate you taking the time.
Dude, fired up to break down this in-state rivalry, man. The Mocs want to place their flag, rightfully so, on Rocky Top, rename that thing Mocky Top, baby. The Mocs are coming in. They're coming in to do some damage.
Dave, of all of the, non-conference, the smaller non-conference matches, this one's actually kind of interesting. We're going to get into it in a second, but kickoff on Saturday, August the 31st, 12:45 p.m. Eastern kick, Dave. This being part of how the new ESPN, ABC, the TV stuff aligns. We're going to start getting these 12:45 Eastern time kickoffs. So 12:45 p.m. Eastern time on the SEC network. Of course, the game being played in Knoxville at Neyland Stadium. Tennessee is a 41.5-point favorite. The over-under set at 56.5. Dave, when you talk about the series history, I was surprised to see how many times these teams have played. Tennessee leads the series 42-2. So Chattanooga's got Tennessee twice over the years. Last meeting was in 2019. Tennessee won that football game 45-0. Dave, as we dive into Chattanooga really quickly, again, this is not your typical Week 1 non-conference matchup of the smaller ones, right? We've talked about some others that are just kind of a no-brainer. We'll be surprised if the opponent has a pulse. Chattanooga's a really good FCS program. They're ranked in the top 10 of the preseason FCS coaches poll. Last year, they went 8-5. They lost in the second round of the FCS playoffs. They returned 3 all-conference players, an offensive lineman, Reed Williams, defensive tackle, Marlon Taylor, and wide receiver, Javon Watley. They also returned their quarterback, which we've got 2 quarterbacks in this game, Dave, whose last names are nearly impossible to pronounce. Chase Artopo, I'm probably mispronouncing it. 2 of the top 3 wide receivers as well. They're returning 3 starters on the offensive line. And Dave, defensively, they returned 7 starters, and their top 4 tacklers from 2023 are back as well. So we understand this, Dave. This game's about Tennessee. Obviously, all attention is going to be on the Vols. We're going to break them down and break down this game in a second. But thoughts on Chattanooga? Thoughts on this Week 1 matchup at Neyland Stadium?
Yeah, this isn't just in a way it is. You roll the balls out. Yeah, Tennessee's obviously 1 through 40 much better. But like you said, this isn't just a, hey, guys, we pick our heads up off the pillow at the team hotel today. We're just going to go out and win. Like you said, UT Chattanooga is a very respectable opponent. They make the playoffs at the FCS level. Probably a lot of Tennessee kids in there that are going to be fired up Week 1 to play probably against a team they grew up cheering against. So there's some pride in that standpoint. I'll be interested. Just really, again, I think a lot of this in these lower level games. And again, you mentioned this is one of the UT Chattanooga is one of the better FCS schools. But again, like a clean operation. What if Tennessee fans, what if the first 2 series they roll out there and it's just kind of like they don't get anything going? Because like you said, UT Chattanooga has some guys back. They're going to be fired up. They're going to have their scripted plays, stuff that Tennessee had prepared for, just like Tennessee's going to have some stuff they probably hadn't seen before. But I don't know, just a clean operation. Nico Amaliava, just the overall clean operation from that standpoint. I think the offensive line is going to be fine. Let's see where some of these receivers kind of fit in. Chris Brazel, let's see where he fits in from that. Let's see where Thornton, the receiver transferred in from Oregon last year. We didn't really get to see a whole lot of him last year. We were thinking of maybe this is the year. I think we know what we can get from Brew McCoy. I think Tennessee, Josh Heupel know they want to keep him healthy getting into play. And then also, is Cam Selden. We need another back. I'm really interested in seeing who kind of steps up as that number 2 back behind Dylan Sampson. Is it Cam Sheldon? They need somebody to step up and kind of be that guy. So that's offensively, that would be something I would be looking at, honestly, in this game. Who is that number 2 back that's getting those 2 reps?
And Dave, to your point about the Mocs really quickly, we're certainly not hyping this up as watch out for the upset. But when you look at some other games where, again, the opponent, it feels almost as lifeless and you really could maybe wake your head up off the pillow and go out there and roll. This is one at least that you're facing a program that is a proud program. They've won big before. And so they'll come in this game fired up with confidence. Like you mentioned, early in the game, maybe Chattanooga's got something to sleeve.
Yeah.
We obviously understand. And again, I think Dave and I, neither one of us is picking the upset in this game, but it's at least an interesting opponent for at least the first quarter. We'll see how things play out. But again, let's put the focus on Tennessee, Dave, because that's what this game is going to come down to. Tennessee comes out, takes care of their business. It really won't matter what Chattanooga does. And like you mentioned, it starts on the offensive side. The Nico Iamaleava era as QB1 begins, and you know we're in week 1 because I've got the last name right. We've been practicing that all offseason, so go me and go us. But Nico takes the field, right? He got the bowl game against Iowa, but now you're at Neyland Stadium, right, beginning your first full season. You've been prepping all offseason to be the dude through spring, through summer, through fall. You mentioned the running game. Who's behind Dylan Sampson, RB2? You get your first look at Chris Brazzell at wide receiver. Brew McCoy's back from injury. Squirrel White, obviously, on the outside. You mentioned Dante Thornton as well. But, Dave, I want to focus in on Nico because there's been so much hype. And, again, it's Chattanooga, right? Not going to be able to draw conclusions or anything. But what do you want to see from him in game 1? I think we're going to see more quarterback run game probably, right? We got glimpses in the game against Iowa, but there's so much hype on this kid. And it's going to be unfair, right? If you come out in week 1 and maybe he doesn't throw for 350 yards or doesn't rush for 150 or have some people are talking about this kid and Heisman Trophy, right? Like that's what people feel like the ceiling is. So for you, what do you think's a successful debut for Nico in the 2024 season against Chattanooga?
Yeah, I don't really want to put up hey, he's got to throw for 3 touchdowns, 250 plus, 75% completion percentage. I don't want to throw numbers out there. Again, I mean, this is kind of the low-hanging fruit, lazy answer, coach speak answer, but a clean operation. I honestly think Tennessee with that week 2 matchup with NC State the next week in Charlotte, I think Heupel's probably sitting there a little bit this is our chance to kind of see, let's give real game reps to some of these number 2, 3 running backs here. Let's see who can kind of step up here. Is that Cam Selden, like I mentioned, let's give him some reps to see who can do that. Nico, I'll be interested to see. Tennessee's a team I'm interested too from this perspective, Chris. How are they using the helmet communication? That would be something I would be interested in seeing what they look like from that perspective. I think that's something to keep an eye on at that 12:45 Eastern kick is hey, does it look like they're still going at their uber fast pace and it's not like they're really using it or not? I've seen interviews with them and Heupel hadn't really leaned either way. He hadn't really tipped his hand. Joey Hazel as well. What they're going to do from a helmet communication standpoint. But specifically Nico here, I just think he needs to get everybody lined up correctly and hey, let's make sure clean operation. We're getting the protection right. So I think UT Chattanooga, they got nothing to lose. They're probably going to show looks that Tennessee's not expecting. They're going to bring multiple pressures. Why wouldn't you? You got nothing to lose here, dude. So I think it's getting into the right stance, checking in and out of box, making sure the numbers in the box are right for the run. Because I think that's what Tennessee is really going to want to do. They're going to want to establish the run. And I think it's Nico getting to the line of scrimmage and being we have a soft box. Let's run the football. Let's get it to Selden. Let's get it to Bishop. Let's get it to Khalifa Keith, potentially. Maybe the freshman Peyton Lewis. Let's establish who that number 2 running back is. I think it's just going to be a mental game for Nico that first game. I think everybody knows what he can do from an ability standpoint. Tennessee knows what he can do from an ability standpoint. I think hey, get us in the right calls, right checks. Let's see if you can get comfortable identifying these soft boxes or these heavy boxes. Because, again, if we're going to really want to go compete for the SEC, make a playoff run, we're going to need you to get us in the right play callings, whether it's in a run or a pass.
Yeah, Dave, to your point, just echo what you said. I just want to see Nico in control. That's it. On time, in control, staying ahead of the stick. You know what I mean? Just a smooth operation, to your point. It's very simple and it sounds like coach speak, but that's all you really want to see. You just want to see a guy that, and I'm not saying that the moment's going to be it's Chattanooga for all, all due respect, but, just a guy in control of the offense. And I think he will be. I think with a kid like that and this first start of the 2024 season, it's more about the poise and the the demeanor, if you will. And again, I think it'll be great, but that's really what you want to see, right? It's just that confidence. He's telling it, it knows where everybody's supposed to be. And there's not a bunch of dysfunction. There's not a bunch of silly penalties or some of the typical week one stuff we see. But if you can get that smooth operation in week one, I think that's going to be a great sign. Dave, to the defensive side, I cannot wait to watch this front seven. I mean, we've been talking about them all offseason, right? Getting a glimpse at James Pierce and the crew, Omari Thomas, the wrecking crew up front. Good luck, Chattanooga. I mean, I can't wait to take that in and watch that group go to work. Because again, we've been building them up all offseason, preseason. I think, and again, I'm a believer in that Tennessee front seven. It's why I think Tennessee's a college football playoff team. So I can't wait to watch them go to work. When you look at Tennessee on the defensive side, what are you most excited to see? Is it that retooled secondary that's got questions? Is it like me, the front seven? Any specific players or anything specifically you want to see defensively? Because again, they're facing a Chattanooga offense. It was pretty good last year and returns a lot of experience.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm intrigued by that front seven for sure. I think in the bigger games, I'm going to want to see some stuff from the secondary. Obviously, guys like Jermod McCoy, the Oregon State transfer. But specifically in this game, let's almost like answer our bell calls. I think everybody's been, any respectable football person understands Tennessee's front seven is going to be really good this year. Let's go kind of force your will on UT Chattanooga. I mean, I want to see that. That's what dominant fronts do against inferior opponents. And no offense to UT Chattanooga, Mocky top. That's what they are in this game going in. So I want to see guys like Omari Thomas, Bryson Easton dominate on the interior. James Pierce, I'm sure UT Chattanooga is going to do everything they can to give help and not let him go. And I think that opens it up for a guy that I like a lot. I think he's going to have a big year. The Joshua Josephs, edge kid from North Cobb in Atlanta. Teams are going to be focusing on James Pierce all year. I think that opens it up for Josephs. And then honestly, let's see Keenan Peely, the BYU transfer, got hurt last year, missed majority of the season just off the top of my head last year. He's kind of a key piece getting them lined up in that front seven. And then also a young guy they like a lot that it's going to be a sophomore, Arian Carter. I just want to see initially what those first and second levels look like and see if they live up to the expectation that majority of college football people follow the SEC hard are kind of expecting out of this Tennessee front seven heading into 24.
You mentioned too, Dave, a couple things. You mentioned the defensive front, establishing dominance. We spent so much time talking about Nico offensively. I want to see that from both sides. I mean, a game like this, that's what you want to see, right? Because the misconception with Tennessee, they think Josh Heupel, they think, throwing it down the field. They love to run the football. I mean, that's what makes their offense go. So, on both sides, offensive line, Cooper Mays leading the way, anchoring that group. You want to see the offensive line. You want to see Tennessee on the line of scrimmage impose their will. And I think they will. We'll get to predictions in a second. But that's what you want to see. And I think in the secondary, though, Dave, you mentioned the big matchups. But, I tell you want to see it, as much as like offensively, we want to see an operation that's together and on script or is smooth and is, looks like they know what they're doing out there. I mean, secondary, I feel like same way. Like, we talked about it with some other games. I mean, you can still win 48-14 and leave that game kind of like, I don't know, like, you don't want to leave this game feeling that way with the secondary because it's only going to get more difficult. The athletes you're going to face, the quarterbacks, the teams, et cetera. So let's not see any busted coverages. Like, let's, you can't draw conclusions, but at minimum, you got to have something to feel good about when it comes to the secondary because the secondary is the question for that defense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you want to feel good leaving that game. And again, it's like you said, UT Chattanooga is not just some bad football team. They're going to come out there and be respectful, real respectable opponent. Again, playing an in-state team, they're going to be fired up. Overall, though, I mean, you just got to get ready for that week 2 matchup against NC State. I think as that game gets closer, me and you, I know we're not previewing that game, but that's a game I'm a little bit like, it's going to be a game maybe we look back on, maybe similar. I saw someone mention it at SEC Media Days, maybe a similar kind of Pitt 2022 game where you're sitting back there straight, maybe they're scrapping, clawing for their life. Maybe we see some issues that NC State could exploit in this week 1 matchup against UT Chattanooga. So I'm interested to see how they get there. Because, again, that week 2 matchup, it's not going to be in the whole, friendly confines of Neyland Stadium. It's going to be a 50-50 split at, I forget what the Panther Stadium is called now, but it's going to be in Charlotte. Or what is it, Bank of America Stadium? Is that what it is?
Bank of America Stadium.
Yeah, Bank of America Stadium. So I kind of just want to see that. But, again, up front, Tennessee's improved their line of scrimmage so much since Heupel took over that program. I think this is the year that you're kind of like, all right, me and you both know, Chris, championships are won in the trenches and at the quarterback spot. I think we're going to learn more about the quarterback spot as the season progresses. Nico's big tests are going to be early, but the line of scrimmage got to show up week in, week out, whether it's a team that has similar personnel as you from a talent standpoint or teams that have inferior personnel as you. I think this is where you got to just go impose your will, get this game over with. Hey, boys, we need to start focusing on NC State. We can't let these guys linger because good teams put them away early. They put these games away early. I mean, we've seen Alabama under Nick Saban, Kirby Smart. They don't let these kind of games, these teams linger. they let depth's important as ever. So I think that's key too. These coaches want to get up big and be, hey, you know what? Like we laughed as kids playing. We come middle of November, we may be beat up and we need him to play. So every live game rep he can get against a respectable FCS playoff team like UT Chattanooga, that can only help him and us evaluate where he fits and can help us win games.
Dave, let's lock in some predictions for this one. Tennessee and Chattanooga in the 2024 season opener for both sides. I'll let you start. How do you see this one faring? Again, Tennessee is a 41.5-point favorite, over under 56.5. Is it a successful season opener for Josh Heupel and the Vols?
I'm going to go 52-14. I'm going to go something like that, 52-14. Let them get a field goal in there. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like – I could see a first maybe series or two, people grumbling a little bit, but I think Tennessee separates themselves, and I'm fired up for that week 2 matchup, man. I'm actually – that game gets closer. I'm like, that's going to be a really fun week 2 matchup in Charlotte. So I think Tennessee will be looking ahead to that. Come fourth quarter, you'll start hearing some murmurs about people talking about where they're going to go eat and drink in Charlotte the next week.
Dave, I think it's a big win for Tennessee as well. I got 45-10 Vols over Chattanooga. So I've actually got Tennessee. Neither one of us, I guess, have Tennessee covering in this game. I would not play it at all because I think Tennessee easily again. I think early on, Chattanooga going to come out inspired, fired up. We've actually seen this before with FCS teams playing SEC teams. Maybe early it gets a little squirrely, but like you mentioned, Tennessee's the superior team. I think Nico is going to shine. I think the running game will be the big difference here. That'll shine. I get line of scrimmage. I think Tennessee will dominate on both sides. They separate themselves. Take the 41.5 at your own discretion. It won't be a play for me, but I do think Tennessee gets a big win, starts their season 1-0. Like you mentioned, sets up that big week 2 matchup against NC State in Charlotte. But guys, we want to hear from you. How do you feel? Tennessee, Chattanooga, how will this one play out? What's your prediction as the Vols and Mocs do battle on Rocky Top? Guys, that's going to do all for us. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Again, make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. For Dave Shumate, I'm Chris Phillips. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we'll catch you on the other side.